Hi, I'm Stephanie with DMC Travel Tailor, and here with me is the lovely Lesa with Lindblad Expeditions. Lindblad does these amazing expeditions all over the world, all these incredible locations. They really get to some remote areas, which Lesa is going to touch base on.
Yeah, there's a lot. So maybe we should have a little test at the end of this, but I'll run through a few, Stephanie. So if we start at the top of the planet, we're in the Northeast Passage over Russia. We do Greenland, Norway, Svalbard, the Faroe Islands, the Orkneys, the Shetlands. We come down and we do, on the United States, Alaska, all the way down to the Columbia Snake River, Baja California, Sea of Cortez, Colombia and the Panama Canal, Belize, Guatemala, Galapagos,
Oh my gosh.
Patagonia, the South Pacific, Vietnam, all over the place. So the list is really extensive. So it's a lot of the time people think of us for the key places that they know us for, which is Galapagos and Antarctica. But it's a lot more than that, for sure.
It is. I know. And I feel like, and sometimes I even forget that you guys do itineraries in the US. So it's, because we're always
Yeah.
thinking of those adorable little penguins or the polar bears. Oh, it's good to know that you guys go to so many locations. But I think, obviously you and I know what an expedition is, but there are some of us that out there that probably don't know what an expedition is. So how would you describe it?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question because that word expedition or adventure can be a little scary for some folks, right?
Yeah.
So for us, an expedition is the opportunity to get out, to explore and to understand, accompanied by amazing men and women that are really passionate and knowledgeable about the places we go. And we are small ships, intimate little ships that are designed specifically to gain access to some remarkable places on this planet. But really wonderful comfort, beautifully appointed rooms, great food, great service. But the reason we're there is to get off the ship. And each night we talk about options for clients. So we're not going to force march you up an active volcano. There's certainly opportunities for long hikes, but we're going to say, look, tomorrow there's going to be a long hike or a short hike. There may just be a zodiac safari, an opportunity to snorkel or kayak. And so you know what you're putting yourself up for the next day, and there's always options. I often get asked, how healthy do I have to be? How active? If you can walk 2 or 3 football field lengths, you can do a large majority of our trips. Now, there's some a little more difficult than others, and that's why they have you, right?
Yeah.
So we get on the phone with you, Stephanie, and your clients, and we get the chance to say, okay, tell us a little bit about what you've done before. And then we can say, yes, this is a perfect fit. Now, these are some of the things just be aware of. We're going to provide them with packing lists so they have the sturdy footwear they're going to need if they need it. So, people shouldn't be afraid. I think the most exciting thing for us when we have clients on board, when they come back at the end of the day and go, I never knew I could do that.
Yeah.
I did something today I never thought I would have the opportunity to do or would push myself to do.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting because we've helped someone come out of their shell a little bit more, and that's what expeditions are about.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And it's, it just gives them something to remember and and it probably makes them feel that there's even more that maybe they can do that they didn't think they could do originally. So that's awesome. And I know you've done some really cool expeditions. Is there anything that stands out in your mind,
Oh my
like
goodness.
maybe one of your most memorable moments?
Okay, there's a couple. I mean, it's hard. People always ask you that question, what's your
Yeah.
favorite? And that's like, someone asking you who are your favorite children, right? It's not
Yeah.
fair. Um, because every one of them is so unique and you love it for a different reason. I had the great opportunity to be on the Amazon about a year and a half ago. And, we go swimming in the Amazon and there's piranha and people are like, oh, you can't swim. Well, you can. It's not like the horror movies where you're gone in 2 seconds, obviously, because I'm still here. But to be in a lake in the upper Amazon, in the Pacaya Samiria Reserve, surrounded by jungle, and you're in this very tepid, dark water. So about an inch down, you can't see your hand, and you're swimming in there, and you're like, okay, I'm trusting what they're telling me. I'm good here. But it's just this amazing feeling. And then just to be on these tiny little tributaries up, we're surrounded by jungle, and you see macaws, and they mate for life. So you see a pair in the trees, and even if it's distant and they're just sitting there, just knowing you've seen them in the wild and that relationship they have, it is nothing like seeing them in a cage somewhere, right?
Right.
That's not fair, but to see them out in the wild is quite remarkable. And then another trip, which is the complete polar opposite, really, because it was Antarctica.
Yeah.
I got the chance to go earlier in the year in November when you've got a lot of sheet ice, and I've actually skied in Antarctica. I did cross-country
Oh my
skiing on
gosh,
the
that's
ice.
amazing.
Yeah, so for that client who's skied everywhere, that's possibly one they want to look at. But we're very, very lucky at Lindblad. We have the great opportunity to experience our expeditions so that we can better educate and help people understand what they're like, but also to travel with our guests to really understand what our guests are looking for. And that's one of the most eye-opening things when you travel with Lindblad, is our guests are just as interesting as the places we're going, right? They are the most interesting people. So to sit at the dinner table across from them it's just an amazing experience. So yeah, it's always hard to pick one, but every one of them has that moment where that you can go back there at any moment, and it feels like it was yesterday.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And no, and I agree with you because it's just from being in Africa a few times and seeing the animals there in their own natural habitat.
Yeah.
It's like I can't even go back to a zoo now because there's just no way, no way, no how. I'm like, I have to go back to Africa if I want, or maybe not Africa, but another
Yeah.
place that has the wildlife if I want that same kind of magical moment. And it's hard because you can't even really explain it. I mean, it's like somebody really just has to be there and experience it for themselves, I think.
And that's true. And I'm glad you brought up Africa, because this is a really good analogy for what we do, right? So when you're going to Africa, you're going to be talking to your clients about that very intimate African experience where it's maybe two jeeps out on the Serengeti or out in the wilderness, where they have that greatest opportunity to see the wildlife, to maybe come upon a kill, but know that there's not 25 jeeps behind them. And by the time it gets to jeep 20, they're
Yeah.
going to see the bottoms of the zebra as they run away. So a small ship expedition is that type of experience, because it's intimately scaled, because it's only 100 to maximum 148 guests, the minimum 28 on our ships. That small intimate size allows you that very close up access. And so you're not on zodiacs with heaps of people, you're in small groups, and you get that very intimate wildlife experience. So for the African clientele, a small ship expedition offers that same level of access. And a lot of Africa clients, Antarctica is on their list, because it really is the Serengeti of the Southern Ocean, is South Georgia Island. So, there's some great similarities there for wildlife. It's really cool.
I bet. And who doesn't want to see a penguin?
Exactly. It's particularly 100,000 king penguins on one beach. You'll
Ah,
smile before you see them.
that's on my list. I haven't seen. Well, I've seen penguins in South Africa, but not
Yep.
not in Antarctica. So,
Yeah.
but one of the things I love about Lindblad, there's a few, but one of them is I love your alliance with National Geographic and how you guys have National Geographic photographers on on some of your ships. I mean, tell us about your partnership with them, because I know
Yeah.
that's a question that's come up before.
Yeah, it is. And look, National Geographic Society, we have an alliance with them. And Sven Lindblad, has always loved his father loved what the National Geographic Society was doing in sharing the world with people who couldn't get out there and see it, and supporting scientists in their work. And so Sven worked with the National Geographic Society to create this amazing alliance where we help support them and their work that they're doing. And it means that we also get this great opportunity to have National Geographic photographers on our key ships. So the National Geographic Orion, the National Geographic Explorer, and now the brand new ship which should be out there now, will be as soon as all this pandemic thing is over. But the National Geographic Endurance features a National Geographic photographer in residence. And then all of our other ships have our Lindblad certified National Geographic photographer. They've not been featured in the magazines, but they are trained by the Nat Geo team. And then we also worked with them through National Geographic Education for our Global Explorers program, which is aimed at our under 18-year-old guests and that's all Galapagos, Alaska, and Baja trips. So that alliance certainly allows us this remarkable opportunity to work with with a with a brand, I guess you'd call it a brand that seems to belittle it a bit, but with a name that is so iconic and so well loved and does so much to preserve the places we go to. So yeah, it's an alliance that we're all extremely proud of.
That's awesome. I know. It's like just growing up, reading through some of the, magazines or watching, some of the episodes on TV. It's just to be in wonder, of a place or of the wildlife. And I love that you guys bring that together. And the other thing I love about Lindblad is that your expeditions are designed by explorers. So it's
Yeah.
really just focusing on, having that intimate, experience for the guests. And so I think that's so cool.
Yeah, look, it's really exciting. And I've actually been very lucky to go on a couple of those initial trips where we're doing the groundwork.
Yeah.
We launched a new trip last year to Magdalena Bay, which is a wild itinerary, which means it's a little shorter and a little bit more active. And Sven Lindblad was on that trip to go over the final itinerary with the team and make sure, see how we all felt about it and then give our feedback. We also, when we were putting together our trip for the San Juan Islands, the opportunity to get out there and do some of the hikes and figure out what was going to be a good fit. So our teams are always looking for opportunities to get out and to spend time in these remarkable geographies. But we have a chief expedition officer, Trey, who has, is amazing, and a full team that supports him that are out, and they're explorers in their own right. And they are out, looking at these places. And look, if there's electricity and tchotchkes and docks, we're trying to avoid those places. There are other ships that can take you there, right?
Yeah.
But because of the tools we have on board, those Zodiacs, we are looking for those places where it's a wet landing, where perhaps even if it is an island of Pacific, we are perhaps landing on a beach that's never before had people landing on it, or a small atoll that no one's ever been to. And I think it was 2 years ago, the National Geographic Orion was between the Marquesas Islands and Polynesia at Tahiti. And they had the most spectacularly beautiful flat day in the middle of the ocean. So they stopped, they put out a couple of Zodiacs, and people went swimming off the back of the boat in the middle of the Pacific. And it was crystal clear. And, so it's those moments that an expedition affords you, because you're not on a timetable like a big ship, cruise ship that has to be here to let people off to go sightseeing. Yeah. We set the timetable based on the wildlife we see and the experiences we're having. And that's what makes it so unique.
Yeah, the spontaneity, because sometimes those are some of the best moments because it's not planned and it's something that just happens, and you really remember those moments, which is cool.
Yep.
What would you say, because I know you have so many different itineraries, for somebody maybe who hasn't done a Lindblad expedition yet, what would you say, or maybe they have, what would you say is your most popular itinerary?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Galapagos is such an easy one to do, right? It's not too far away. It's a pretty easy flight down to Ecuador and then out to the islands. And yet it is such a game changer when it comes to being around wildlife. People kind of look at you like, yeah, sure, the wildlife is, 2 feet away from you. Well, actually it is. That they have absolutely no fear of you. They're as inquisitive of you as you are of them. And so it's such a wonderful introduction to expeditionary travel without it being too far afield. Another one that's great is Alaska. People have this misconception you've got to do Alaska on a great big boat and, you're going to sail down the middle of the fjord, see a glacier and go do some shopping. That is not Alaska. Our Alaska is 100 people, and we leave Sitka or Juneau and we don't want to see another human being for the rest of the week. We want to get into I used to say we avoid other people like the plague, but it's really not the best saying right now. But we want to get out there, and we really want to get where people aren't, pull into these tiny little bays where you're surrounded by otters. You look up in the trees and there are so many bald eagles. They look like Christmas ornaments. You're kayaking or you're taking a Zodiac ashore, and next minute a whale just goes by you. I mean, because you're in such quiet spaces.
Yeah.
And one of the other things was we always look for the big animals, right? We're always
Yeah.
enamored by, I'm going to see a grizzly or I'm going to see a moose. Or one of the things about Alaska that really changed my mind about the world as a whole when you're traveling, we had a naturalist who was a specialist in lichen and moss.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, you can do actual degrees in lichen and moss. So, and she had us down on our hands and knees in the middle of the forest, and there's this amazing little wonderland beneath your feet of tiny little orchids that are this big, and they're
Wow.
little white orchids, little blue orchids. There's little insect eating plants. There's this whole like fairy wonderland beneath your feet that you're so busy looking for these big things that you miss the absolute beauty that's all around you that's so tiny. And I think that is also what makes an expedition different. It makes you look at the world in a different way. And I hope that when anyone goes to Alaska, that they look to invest a little bit more of their money and do it in a way that they really see Alaska, not just see it, but be in Alaska, because it's a
Yeah.
totally different experience.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
one of the things I love about Lindblad too, is that you guys do have access to get so up close and personal with this wildlife. And I mean, again, it's just that, aha moment, that you have when that happens.
Yeah.
And it's all about those moments, I feel like. And so that's really cool. Would you say you do a lot of family travel?
Oh gosh, yes. um, and that look, and we can help couples who don't want to be with lots of children too. We know there are family people out there who are like, I'm a school teacher. I don't really want to travel with 20 children on a ship.
Yeah.
So in our system, we can let folks know how many families are on board. But yes, particularly in places like Galapagos, Alaska, Baja, maybe Costa Rica, where we see a lot more families traveling. And it's brilliant because one of the things I know that Sven is really passionate about is that next generation is going to pick up the mantle of caring for these remarkable places. So if they learn about it young, they're going to grow up appreciating it and understanding it better. And so that Global Explorers program I mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
which just happened to have a field notebook right here. So when those kids get on board, they get this amazing field notebook. And it is full of scientific experiments, and it outlines different flora, fauna. And so it's an enrichment program that our Global Explorers educators will spend time with the kids on board, but then they go out with their family to do the hunting for these things. So it's a family activity. Because
Oh,
a family vacation is not a family vacation when kids are in childcare and mum and dad are doing something. That's not a family trip.
yeah.
So what this does is it's really enrichment. It allows our younger guests to get that feeling of being an explorer, that they can do it.
Yeah.
And they all get to present at the end of the trip. It's amazing. The shyest of kids will get up and talk about their favorite animal. They get to learn their Zodiac driving license, which if you were in the Zodiac with them is the most scary thing on earth. Because they can drive really fast. But they do all these great experiments, like taking plaster footprints of wildlife and then coming back and looking at them, and how are they different. So it's a great program, and they're instantly set up in the system as soon as their age goes in to be a part of that program on those 3 destinations. But families for us are a big thing. We also see a lot of families in Antarctica. A
Yeah.
lot of teenagers traveling. I would say for most of our trips, 5 and up is a great age. Don't underestimate your children. They are huge sponges at the age of 5, and they get so into it, honestly. So don't underestimate how much they will get out of it. And then for those bigger trips like Antarctica and the Arctic, around 7 or 8 is a good age to start for those.
That's
Yeah.
great to note. And I mean that hunt seems like so much
Uh,
fun.
It's so much fun. Actually, I'll make sure that you can share with your clients. We're doing a virtual expedition at the moment. And yesterday, one of our Global Explorer teachers was doing how to build a glacier at home out of
I saw
ice
that
cream
one.
cookies.
Hey.
It's awesome. And you get to eat it.
Yeah. I even showed Danielle and my husband. I was like, look at how cool this is. I was like, what a great way for children to learn. Like,
Right?
talk about interactive.
It is, and there's also a scavenger hunt page I can send you. You can share, which has different things that they can go out in their backyard now during the pandemic, and
Yeah.
anywhere they are, it will say find a bird, find a leaf, find. So it gives kids an opportunity to go out and see the wonder around them, even if it's just in their backyard. Yeah.
God, that's awesome. So much fun. And I bet the kids and parents watching their kids have that much fun. I'm sure it's like equally enjoyable for them, you know?
Even even the people on board who do not have children, it's amazing because they see it through the younger eyes as well, and I think it's enriching even for them. So that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. That is cool. Well, the other thing I love about Lindblad, I must say, is that you guys are all about adding value to the guest experience, and that's just awesome and in line with what what we're all about too. Um, but I also love that you guys do. You are all also all about impacting
Yeah.
positively impacting wherever you go. And congratulations, by the way, on winning the Virtuoso 2018 Sustainable Award. So
That
maybe
was actually our second year. We were really excited. It's
that's
that's
awesome.
a great honor. Yeah, look, from the very beginning, we as a company, and the Lindblads as a family have believed that, you go somewhere and put more into it than you take from it, that you need to be positively impacting and caring for the places you're seeing. And that shouldn't just be lip service. It should actually be doing the hard work to make sure that you can support it, be it by hiring locally so the staff is from that region. Who knows that area better than they do, right?
Yeah.
And the money is going back into the local community, supporting local artisans so that you are protecting that heritage of their crafts. And then we sell those on our ships through our global gallery program. And so
Awesome.
that's a wonderful way to share this remarkable art around the world. Making sure we're working with people like the Alaska Whale Foundation, the Darwin Center, to support them with funds so they can continue to do their work. But also we're the only, we're carbon neutral, totally carbon neutral as a fleet. So that's all of
Awesome.
our staff travel, that's all of our ships, that's our offices. I mean, so we offset our carbon, and that's great to say,
Yeah.
but we are continuously working as a company to lower our footprint so that it's not just about, oh, yeah, we can buy carbon credits, but that we can actually lower that impact. We have a green team. So every aspect of the company, we're looking for ways to draw down our footprint. And just recently, we added a carbon calculator on the website so that you can work with your clients so they can offset their flights as well.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so it doesn't matter what level of green you are. You might be light green or you might be dark green. There's a lot of green, different green spectrum, but we will help you understand it. So once you leave your expedition, you are armed with the information you need to go forward. Yeah.
That is just great. No, and it's great that you guys are giving back like that. That's always a beautiful thing. And I want to thank you for your time today and answering my questions. And hopefully, the people out there watching this will enjoy it and learn something new today.
Well, it was lovely, Stephanie. I honestly, such a pleasure chatting with you. And we all look forward to having you and your clients back on board Lindblad sooner than later, hopefully. But we'll be here and we just can't wait to get back out into the wild.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Sooner rather than later. And
Exactly.
hopefully, we'll be seeing you soon.
Okay, mate. Nice speaking with you.
Thank you. I love it when you call me mate.
Okay.
Bye, Lisa. Thank
See you
you.
later. Thanks so much.
Bye.